Gemara. Today's daf, Wednesday, is daf Tzadik Beis. We're learning the Gemara about somebody who is denying teaching his Talmidim, Divrei Torah, especially Divrei Halacha. He could get cursed that even the babies inside the mother's womb will curse them as well. And the Gemara continues. We're in Tzadik Beis Amar Aleph, about 4 lines on the top. Ula bar Yishmael that menakvin that his punishment will be that they were going to poke holes in him like a sieve hacha. Because here in the pasuk it says that yikvu la'oim, it says somebody's menei bar, somebody who holds back bar. They will pierce him like a oim. There it says the word piercing yikvu is bayakav chor bedaltei. Not the word cursing like we said before, but they made pierced holes in him like in the door. Omar Abai says, and furthermore, ki uchla the katzi, they're going to pierce him like these sprinkling cans full of holes. But if he did teach halacha, what's the schar? Amar Rava, Amar Abshesha, zoichel lebrachas ki Yosef will have many brachas, just like Yosef. Shneimar, it says ubracha l'reish mashbir. The bracha is to the reish mashbir, to the one who provides. The ein mashbir Yosef, who's a mashbir. Yosef is the ultimate mashbir provider. Now it says the Yosef who ha shal to a mashbir l'kol am haaretz. He provided food for everybody, so you'll be blessed like Yosef. Anybody teaches Torah in this world will be zeicha to continue teaching in the future world as well. As it says in Pasuk, that umarveh, one who makes others satisfied, he'll continue being satisfied. Continuing the theme that we said that Chis HaMesim is a mocker for the Torah. We brought a number of sources already. A further one, Reuven should live al yamas. What do you mean should live? Of course, if he lives, he's not going to die. What do you mean al yamas? So Reuven is Olam Hazard. This world, al yamas, Olam Haba. He won't die for the world to come. Chis HaMesim. Vina says another place, another source says. The Rabbim mi says here, Rabbim mi from those who are lying in the ground, those who are buried, is yakitzu, they will wake up. Eila chay olam, there were those who wake up chay olam, that means olam haba, and the Eila, the others, is lahardofus lidron olam. It will go to the other place. So we see that there's a marker for tchias hamesim. Even though we call it min haTorah, this is actually a pasuk in Tanakh. Ravashi says, Mahocha, from here, you lech lekate, you go to the end of time, but to know yourez, but Tamba, you'll stand up again, legoidolcha for your goidol lekate, so you have an end of days. So it says clearly you're going to stand up again. Again, we call it Torah, even though it's in Tanakh and Daniel. It says, Kol Parnis, any leader, Shemani gets a tibu benachas that is compassionate and empathetic with the people that he's on, that are under him, is Zoichum and Higlam Habli, will continue to lead them in the Elam Habli. Shenemar, but it says in Pasik that Ki Merachmechem Yenahagim, that those who have shown compassion will continue to lead you. And over the springs of water, they will continue to lead. It says, having seichel and having knowledge is so great that it's given between 2 letters. It says, Ki Keil Deis Hashem. It says Deis between Keil Hashem, either because the word Keil itself has 2 letters in it, or Keil and Hashem are 2 different names of Hashem. Hashem is Chesed and Keil is Gevura. And Deya knows how to mix the 2 together. Either midah, a single midah alone is no good. Chesed on its own is not good either, because then you give chesed to everybody, including you can have a Yishmael as a son. Gevura on its own is no good. You can have a Esav, but the 2 together, like Yaakov is Tiferes, you have 12 children, all tzaddikim, 12 sons tzaddikim and dinner. The base of Mikdash also is great. It was given between 2 words. Remember, it says Pa'alta Hashem Mikdash Hashem Koin Yedecha. So the Mikdash comes between the Pa'alta Hashem and Hashem Koin Yedecha. Following your logic, whenever a word is between 2 words of Hashem, it's a good thing. It says Gedoil and Nekama should be great. Shenitna Ben Shtei Ois is also given to 2 words of Hashem. It says Keil Nekama is Hashem, Keil Nekama is Sephia. So you have the Nekamas and you have it between Kale and Hashem. So according to you, it should be a great thing. Says the Gemara, yes. The mill say sometimes they come for its purpose. Hachinami, it is a good thing. These two revealings, what is it? It says Kel Nekam is Hashem and Kel Nekam is Haifir. You reveal itself because there are two kinds of Nekamas. One is, and Rashi says very interesting. Lama achas one for good, one for bad. That Hashem went to all the nations to offer them the Torah, and they refused to take it. So one Nekam is it took it away from the nations and he gave it to the Yidden. That's one. Another one is that he punished the goyim. Anybody who's smart, as if you're built in his day, has enough seichel to understand what's going on. Is it the base of Migdash is built in his time? Both of them are given between two names of Hashem. Anybody who has seichel, the soif misasher. Shlomo Melech chose wisdom. He got everything else with it as well. Because it says in Pasuk. With das chadarim yemolu kol hayin yukar v'noim. With das chadarim yemolu, all the rooms be filled kol hayin yukar v'noim, full of treasures v'noim, all sweet things. Anybody has no seichel also lerachem olav. If they do things to themselves without seichel, it's hard to have rachmanus on them. It's themselves. It says kiloi am binasun, they're not intelligent people. Okay, lo yirachmenu oiseyu. The Creator doesn't have rachmanus v'yotzer lo yichanu. The Creator doesn't show any compassion for them. Anybody gives bread to someone that has no daya, you actually get punished for it because you're not forcing them to use their mind to rub their mind. Remember, it says in the pasuk, it says lachmecha yesimu mozer tachtecha, that the bread, by giving them, you're turning it into mozer. Ain't tevuna, by giving it to someone has no seichel, by ain't what's mozer el yisurim, you will be actually punished. Remember, it says vayad Ephraim es chaliyah, Ephraim saw sickness, but Yehuda es mazor, and Yehuda saw his sickness. So we see that what mozer means sickness. Rablaza says, "Call others aim by day. Anybody who has no seichel will save girl ends up in golish." And it says, "Lechen golami mibli das." Why did they all end up in exile? Because they didn't use their das. Das is, so you have chachma bina and das, and you have midas. The chachma bina is done just coming up with ideas and then expanding on it, and midas are the emotions with the result of what you understand, and das is what combines the two. It's the neck, it's the bridge that brings to do it. It's hakosha, hiskashis. All that is done by das. Any house you don't hear Dibur Torah at night, a house that you don't hear Torah learning at night, a fire will consume it. In Gemara Chagigi, we learned how wonderful it is to learn at night. And if you don't, the negative is if you don't, a fire will consume it. But it says in Pasuk, all the darkness is hidden in the treasures. And if it's dark, then a fire will consume. Like nufel doesn't even have to be blown. The fire straight away will burn. And yera sadid ba'olay, and yera sadid ba'olay. The sadid will be hurt in the tent. Who's a sadid? Ein sadid is the machacham. Sadid is the point of machacham. Remember it says the leaders of Hashem calls to. Anybody does not make sure that part of his estate is shared with Tamid Chachamim, ain't going to see bracha. We'll never see a sim bracha. It says ain't sodid because there's no sodid there participating in food. I can't yachol too, but therefore he will not have any good. And ain't sodid ela Tamid Chachamim. Sodid different Tamid Chachamim. It says Hashem kaila, and these officers, these Tamid Chachamim, Hashem summons. If you don't leave some bread behind on your table in the Reisei Bracha, well, you don't see a Sima Bracha. It says, you don't leave any shiraim to eat. You should always leave a few crumbs. Even though Taisus and Bracha says he doesn't know where the mucker is to leave some bread on the table when you bench. The mucker is right here. And therefore it doesn't have any good. So the Gemara says, you're telling me it's a good thing to leave some bread for the end of the meal. Anybody leave a piece of the bread at the end of the meal, it's actually just a form of idol worship. It says, those who prepare for this idol called gate, shulchan, the table, malim lemani, another idol called mani, they fill up their cups with masach, they fill up the cups with wine. These are ways of worshiping away the zara. What are you telling me that you should leave something behind? Like kasha, if you bring out a whole challah together with the crumbs, that's the way of worshiping avodah zarah. You don't bring out another challah, just have leftovers from whatever the meal was. That's different. That's a good thing. See how it says. Hevel Hema Maisa Tatuyim. That this is sorry, skip the line. The Omer Abelazar says Kol Hamachlis Biti Budai. And Rashi says anybody changes words. Rashi seems to be saying that you change your voice, that people should recognize it. And other Shayms that come out means that you're just not following what you said. Is kilo as if you're worshiping Vayzorah. Here it says what exactly Rashi means, you're changing your voice, that you should be recognized. Not exactly sure. But here it says, I'll be in his eyes, and Yisrael's eyes, like I'm somebody else, he doesn't know who I am. Like I'm tricking him. It says, Hako, Hevel, Hema, Maises, Between. Those people between these things are trying to, subterfuge and all that. Anybody who stares at an erva is kashting, an erva male member will become shaken. In other words, you won't be able to procreate. Shnamar says, you'll be completely cleaned out, will be emptied out. Kashtech, a male member. You should always be a humble person. You should be an honor, and you then live a long time. You learned this is like a metaphor for it. A dark house ain't poischem loy chalonis li'anigam. We know that a kohen has to see the tzaras before it becomes tummy. If a person has tzaras, but a kohen did not establish that this is tummy, he does not become tummy. So when it comes to a house and it's suspected there's a tzaras there, leave it dark so the kohen can't see it, and that would be pronounced tummy. So that's the saying that a buy is awful. If somebody's prepared to accept everything, the fact that you stay back and you're not out there in front, they protects you that you remain tired. It says a positive. These three things: which is a cave where you bury people, and which is the cervix where you come for by a woman, and edits and the ground where you bury people. My water never fills it. I mean, these things that Rashi explains never get filled. There's never enough kvarim. There's always plenty of room for more kvarim. And no matter how many times a man and woman have a relationship, it's still possible for more. And the dirt is there's never enough water for the dirt. I mean, there's always plenty more. What's the comparison between a caver and then having relations with your wife? Intimacy with your wife. Allah will tell you, just like by a woman, that you go you pass her semen, and then a child comes out. So too, when it comes to a caver, you bury people, but there'll be will come back out. So it's that your relationship with your wife is quiet, discreet. Yet, a child is born, there's a lot of noise. People are crying and sad and everything else, make a lot of noise. Surely, come out and people come out again. But can't hear the response for those who say ain't those who say no here you have a response to that. They learn this is what most people say Eliyahu Navi taught to Amoraim, that tzaddikim that tzaddikim, to understand this, the Ritva says in Nida and in Brachas and other places that there are two periods. Actually, the Zohar says it as well. There are two periods. First is the Moshe Mashiach, and then 40 years later, Tchias HaMesim. We know that's the tzaddikim, like it says in Mefesh Gemara Yuma, and Taisus brings it in Arif Sachem, that Moshe and Adam, as soon as Mashiach comes, they will come back and they'll teach us how to do the service in the Beis HaMikdash. So, but the most developed Tchias HaMesim will be when 40 years later. So they say that's something what we're about to learn. It says over here, Tzaddikim the Tzaddikim that Hashem will give life to, they will not go back to their dust. What do you mean they won't go back to the dust? That even after Tchias HaMesim, we learned the world is 6,000 years, and then 1,000 years, the world will lie fallow, or 2,000 years. And during those years, when the world will be charav, Today, the world will be destroyed. There won't be any Gashmias in the world. The Sadiqim will not turn back into dust. What's going to happen then? Shneimar says, "Well, Yanisha B'tzin, those left in Yerushalayim, Kodesh Yom Alev, they'll remain holy. They won't go back." And the way Rashi learns is that the goof will still remain, and then they'll come back to life again after that 1,000 years. So where exactly is this goof going to be? I don't like Kodesh is forever, so too they are going to remain forever. In those years, Hashem is going to renew the world. Because it'll be 1,000 years, 1 millennium will be Charuk, or 2 millennium will be Charuk. On that day, and we know that Hashem by Hashem Yom is an El of Shanim. It's Tzaddikim Ma'ina is what they can do. Because Baruch Islam K'lafayim K'nisharim will have wings like eagles. V'shatin up Pnei they'll flow up, they will fly above the water. Now it says Al Kain Loy Nida, V'hamir Eretz B'moit Harim B'lev Yam, and therefore it says that. Leinidi will be scared, but Hamir Eretz will change the world around. Might Harim, and when the mountains will all slip into Lev Yamim, into the waters, they are not going to be scared. Why? Because they are still be around. There can be pain. But Kaveh Hashem, those who believe in Hashem, Yachlifu Koyach, they'll have new energy. Yalu Evik and Sharim, they will have wings like eagles. Yirtzu v'lo yigo, they will run, but they will Yarutzu v'lo yigo, they will run, but they won't get tired. Yelchu will go, v'lo ye'ofo, they won't be exhausted. Says the Gemara, you want to know about Chias HaMeisim, so why not? V'neilev, let us learn out. You're telling me that all of those people who died, all those people that will come back to life. What do you mean? You have and Tzaddikim who came back to life will never die again. What about Yecheskel? Yecheskel went to the valley of the bones, resurrected them, and then they died again, pretty much straight afterwards. So even though they said Mechayim Mason, why do you say Tzaddik will never die again? Why do you learn from the Mason that Yecheskel brought back to life? And then afterwards they perished again. So maybe Tzaddikim the same thing. He says, have a big machlekes for these bones that Yecheskel resurrected. So he holds about the Omar who says, "Be'emes mashal." In fact, it never happened. The whole thing was just a mashal to say that even though we're in Golus, one day we'll come back, we'll have a gula. The Tan Belun, Rav Lezer, I'm Mason Yecheskel, those Mason Yecheskel gave back life to Amnor when they actually stood up, Amrusha, they sang, and then they died. And that was our question from that opinion. So we see that even though they came back to Chisamation, they died right afterwards. What did they sing? Hashem Hashem dies with tzedek, Hashem kills with tzedek, with justice, and then with compassion, he gives them life again. Abishur said, I agree with you, they came back to life and then they died, but they sang a different song. They said, Shira Zuamr, they sang this song, Hashem Meimnis Umachaya, Hashem puts to death and then he gives life, Moidit Shoel V'yal, he brings it down Shoel in the darkness and then he brings it back up. Rabbi Yehuda says, Emes Mashal Haya. Emes is true and Mashal is allegory. Although I understand, Emes from a Mashal, if it's true, then it's not a Mashal. If it's a Mashal, then Lama Emes, how is it true? In truth, it was a mashal. However, there's a third opinion. In fact, they all came back to life and they remained alive. They married women, they gave birth to children, bonus and daughters. And Yehuda stood up on his feet. He said, I am a descendant from Shevet Ephraim. And this is my Zayt that left me a Yerusha tefillin that came from this Shevet Ephraim. Sorry, yeah. And who were they? The Mesim Yecheskel gave life to. Sorry. And who were they? They were Mesim Yecheskel. Who were these people? Amarav Elu Bnei Ephraim. This is the tribe of Ephraim. Shemonu Lekates. They counted the Kates. The total, they miscalculated. They thought that the 400 years start straight away from Bris Ben Absarim, but really it started from, it says Zarachos, when Yitzchak was born, which is 30 years later. They miscalculated. They left 30 years earlier and they all died. Ubnei Ephraim, it says in the positive, Ubnei Ephraim, and the children of Ephraim was Shesalach and Ubodad, Benoi, and Bodad his son, the Tachas Benoi, El Oda Benoi, V'tachas b'noi and V'zeva b'noi, V'shala b'noi, They were killed Anshe Gas and the Lodnim Ba'aret were born in the land. See, it says, Abel Ephraim, Avim, Yamim, and Abel Ephraim mourned after them for a long time, but Yavoy, Echel, and Nachman, his brothers came to Menachem. I mean, Ephraim mourned all of these who died, and and um, and they came to Menachem Ephraim. So these are the people left early. The only question is, that means, it's interesting, the Bidum says he got tefillin from them, which means that already in Mitzrayim they wore tefillin, because they weren't around by Matan Torah, they left 30 years early. And one of those who died left the tefillin for Rabbi Yehuda Seder, Rabbi Seder's grandfather. So l'chayda, they wore tefillin already back in Mitzrayim. Not just a maklis that the Yaakov did, but look like they wore real tefillin. Otherwise, how can Rabbi Yehuda Seder continue wearing them if they're not kosher tefillin? That means that he already had the parshis. So that's quite interesting. How did they have the parshis of tefillin if he yashin it? What did he yashin? Interesting. Sam Sefer talks about, Sam Sefer in his truth talks about that it says in places of Gimel Beis that the B'nai Seder he was a leader of Eden. If you remember the Samach there, he was a leader in Bavel. He didn't know if Yom Tov falls on Pesach falls on Shabbos if you bring a carbon or not. So they brought Hillel, and Hillel took over. And the question was why the B'nai Seder didn't know. They did it in the past. Why couldn't he paskin? So the beautiful Sam Sefer, the truth that talks about why Rabbi Yehuda say that wasn't Oiler Egel because he had no property. Now, why didn't have property? Every Jew in Israel has property. We hadn't tasted in Bobas, that every Jew owns 4 amos in Israel. But because he came from Shevet Ephraim, who were not from Yetze Mitzrayim, they didn't leave Mitzrayim, they left 30 years early. Therefore, he didn't have a Chel in Israel. So Yehuda say it was not automatically entitled to 4 amos in Israel. Therefore, he didn't have any physical land, so it wasn't Oiler Egel. And because he wasn't Oiler Egel, and because he had no land in Yisrael, so therefore he could not bring a korban Pesach for Shia Shabbos, and therefore he couldn't paskin about bringing a korban Pesach on Shabbos. And Chatzor goes further and adds even more explanation to it. The Gemara says further. So there's an argument actually of these people, who Shevet Ephraim, who these the Valley Bones, who actually were they? Says the Gemara further. And also the way we learn right now, the Gemara says that Ephraim lived a very long time. He lived till 30 years before the Eden left Mitzrayim, because he still, and that means he outlived all of his brothers. Tell you about it further. Shmuel says, who these people were? Able ben Adam, these were people shekafur Shchis Mesim, that denied the existence of Shchis Mesim. Shneimar, it says, right? It says in the Pasuk, right? Yomer Elai. They said to me, ben Adam, had someone said these bones, cold bases all Haman. They belong to everybody. No, that wasn't just Shevet Ephraim, belonged to all the Eden. Haman, and they say, Yoshu Asma Seinu, our bones are dried up. Of the Tikva Seinu, we lost hope. And Exarnalanu, and therefore, meaning they lost hope, they didn't believe in Chis HaMeisim, and that's who they were. We're talking about people who did not have the moisture. They said they were dry bones. They didn't have the moisture of mitzvahs. And in fact, the previous ones, if they didn't believe in Chis HaMeisim before, they have the Chegnon Haba. But Yechezkel wanted to show an example that Chis HaMeisim can be. There were so many people that didn't believe in it. He wanted to show that can be. That's why he's Mechayim Meisim. And Mishmul and Rav Yim Barabba says, no, these people didn't do any mitzvahs. It says, what some say, Hashem. Those who are dried, listen to the words of Hashem. In other words, they weren't listening. They didn't do mitzvahs. You know who they were? They actually drew on the Hechel. They painted on the Hechel all kinds of images, despicable images on the holy wall of Ishmael, no kind of graffiti. It says, I went in and I saw that all these different forms of animal shekets, kol gelula beis Yisrael, and all these different effigies, the chuka al hakir savi, were all etched into the wall surrounding it. Uksiv. And then the pasuk says, "Ve'virani aleim saviv saviv." I took them around and around, and those people that it says the word Saviv, but said before that they went ahead and they did all this kind of graffiti. Cheskel took them out of the ground, and that's who they were. The Yechon says, Elu Mesim Shebebikas Dura. These were the Mesim that Nebuchadnezzar, Melabubel, killed in Dura, and these were the people that Cheskel resurrected. What I mean, people killed in Dura. What's going on over there? Because because Dura Shebesham, he says here from Nor Eshel. These are places till Bikas Dura. What happened was, when Nebuchadnezzar went and evicted the Eden from Eretz Yisrael. There were young men, they were so handsome that they made the sun appear pale in their beauty. And the female castes saw them, and it made them very, I guess, interested in having intimacy. Amrul Balain, I said to the husbands, Balain the Melech, and the king and the husbands to the king, that were having trouble in our bedroom. So the king gave instructions, kill them out because they're causing all kinds of problems with between the wives and husbands. Just the memory of these young men caused the women there to have all kinds of constantly bleeding, and they having all kinds of issues. So the king said, "The Ramsum, I want you to trample upon them." To trample upon them, so that sort of there's no more any more image of them, there's nothing left of them, so that the women should forget at all who they are. This way you completely destroy whatever's left of them. Says the Gemara. So that's what Yecheskel resurrected, these young men. Says the Gemara, when refused to bow down to the statue, effigy of the king of Nebuchadnezzar, so they were thrown into this fiery furnace. And the Abish made an nest. Malach Gabriel came in, and they were parading around, prancing around, and it came out, but it was so hot that the people around there all got burnt. So the Abish said, Yecheskel, lech go, v'hechya mesim, bebikas dura. That's when he said, go and be mechayim mesim to bikas dura, all those bachrim that were killed out, bring them back to life. Kivan shehechya oisan, once he brought them back to life, bo atzamas, came the bones. And Rashi says that these bones were used to make kalim, vessels for Nebuchadnezzar. And at that moment, when Yecheskel was resurrecting them, those bones that were used from these boys who were used for kalim, came along and they smacked Nebuchadnezzar upon his face. What's going on here? Where are these bones coming from? Why are they hitting me? Said the chaver of these is these Chalam Shavazai had a friend Yecheskel. Yecheskel and Yirmiyah lived in the same time. Yirmiyah was a Navi in Yisrael, and Yecheskel was a Navi in Chutz. And even though we say there's no Navi in Chutz, but because Yecheskel started out in Yisrael and he went to Chutz later, as Teisha said about so therefore you were able to have Navias. Then in the first Pedic, and they told Nebuchadnezzar that the friend Yecheskel, the friend of Chalam Shavazai, was doing all that. So he started to sing a praise. The same Nebuchadnezzar started to sing a praise, and he said, Achoyik, Asoyik, Kamarav, and the signs are so great. The Timoye, Kamat Kifin, and your miracles are unbelievable. Malchuse, Olam, Hashem's kingdom is forever. The Shaltanim, he rules over every generation. And he was continuous, a beautiful prose. Amr Abizcha says, so that's when they smacked him. And it says in the Chassidus Forum, the idea of smacking was that when things are going well, and you Abishter, no big deal. If things are going to praising the Abishter, David and Melech had a very difficult life, and yet he continuously made Tehillim. So they gave Nebuchadnezzar a smack, and let's see if he'll still continue singing Hashem's praises. But as soon as he got smacked, he stopped. So that was a test to see whether the praises are genuine. Let gold melt and hot gold melt and enter his mouth, so that he should stop singing these praises. Malach wouldn't have come and smacked him on his mouth. He would have completely superseded all of the shirim that David Melech said, because it's so much nicer. Tell them we learned Shisha Nishim Nasa basically again, 6 miracles happened on that day. In addition to the fact that Hanani Mashovazaya was saved and spared, 6 other miracles happened on that day. Anyway, first of all, Tzafa Kivshin, that the furnace sort of went upwards above ground before it was underground and went above ground. Avisha wanted everyone to see the miracle. And the Nifrit Kivshin, all the walls around it collapsed so that everybody can see right through it. And then it says humak soda, and then also the tar or the plaster all melted. Again, there should be no obstructions that everybody can see. The nepech tzelem upon it, the effigy of Nebuchadnezzar suddenly turned over. The nisvu arba malchias, and 4 of the kings, the people that Nebuchadnezzar had them making sure the fire was strong, were actually the kings of small kingdoms, and they all got burned. The and the other thing was that at the same time, Yecheskel resurrected those Bochim that were killed by Nebuchadnezzar. The Kulu Gemara. And all this we learn out not from Daniel, but all this we learn out from tradition. The Arba Malchis Krah. But the 4 kings that were killed is a pasuk. See, because one pasuk says, Nebuchadnezzar Malka, Nebuchadnezzar the king, Shalach, he said, Lemitrish together, Darpna, the different levels of officer, and the Gazna, and then in Nidvarya, the Tavraya, Tiftaya, Bechoshu, Tanidinasa. So these are the 4 kings of the Gazna, the Dana, the Tavra, and Tiftaya, and all the different leaders of the kingdom. It says, Isa Gubra Yehudoin, there are Jewish people there. That were causing trouble in Babel, and they gathered Achash Darpna, Signaya Pachvasa, just the 3 different kinds of officers, but doesn't mention the 4 names. And the words of the king should be spread out, and yet those 4 kingdoms are not mentioned. Those 4 people are not mentioned anymore because they were wiped out. Tony read Abelezer, but Yaakov said, I feel even when your life is in danger, even when your life is in danger, you should not lose your dignity. Hanani they had no idea that they'd be saved, and yet they entered the kivsh of the furnace, dignified, wearing their normal clothing, and they shouldn't in any way appear to be scared. They were Moshe Nefesh. They shouldn't appear to be scared. Shenema. It says in the pasuk, it says in the pasuk that these people, if they went, the piece they were tied up, in their coats, pashtayin, and their trousers with kabbalah and their robes and so on. Omer Rabbi Yechon says, "Gedolim tzadikim yeshem malachim sharet. Tzadikim are even greater than malachim." In what way? Shenema, because it says in Pasuk, on when he saw Hanani Mishav walking around, he says, Nebuchadnezzar said, he said, I saw Gugrin Arba, I saw 4 people, Sharian, I saw 4 people untied, Mahalchim ben Noida, walking around in the fire, going in the fire, and the Chevel Yisabai, and now one of them was hurt. And then he said, and then it appeared the 4th person, looked like a malach. So who is mentioned 4th last? The malach. And the first 3 was tzaddikim. Okay, we'll stop over here. We'll continue tomorrow. Have a good day.